Hello and welcome to another session of Groundbreakers Live. I'm your host, Javed Mohammed, and I'm very honored to have with us Martin D'Souza, who is the Director of Innovation at Insum Solutions, as well as an ACE Director and Groundbreaker Ambassador. Martin, welcome.
Thanks.
So I see we were talking off camera a little bit about the weather in Calgary. Hopefully you're staying warm or cool as is best described.
Yeah, I was telling you, when you asked if it's warm or cold, I said at least it's not snowing. So yeah, it's pretty nice out now without the snow.
So we're here to talk about Apex, and I know you're one of the most active community members in the Apex community. So I wanted to kind of just get your take on and just learn a little bit about you and how did you become involved with Apex?
I actually became involved by accident. One of I think it was my second job. I won't even say the year, but a long time ago. I was working at a small company and they were, I think, an EBS shop but they had Oracle databases and they needed a timesheet system built for them. And the owner came over and said, hey, there's this tool called Apex, it's free, why don't you give it a shot? And I pretty much picked it up, learned it just by searching online through the community, and haven't looked back since. Every single job I've done has involved Oracle and Apex ever since then.
Mm-hmm. And what draws you to Apex? I mean, there's probably other things that are out there, but what do you find is the key attraction?
The attraction, and especially now in terms of the latest releases and what's out there, is the ability or the easy ability for me to focus on solving business problems rather than the nitty-gritty technical solutions. So the example I give on this is, for instance, let's say I'm working with a client, or a client can be either internal or a client via consulting, and they will ask, they want to see something, right? And I don't have to focus, they want to see results. So I don't have to focus on coding every single little widget or going to look for something, for instance, like a way to display a report or security management. You don't need to go and download and put together all these pieces to make your own framework. It's all there. So I can focus specifically on the problem at hand, and it gives me all those tools and removes all the abstraction away. So I can deliver that quickly and at least show results right away.
Okay. And what kind of applications? I mean, I'm sure you probably over your career have built many, but is there a particular app or something that you want to share that is that you feel really proud of?
Yeah, I mean, they've developed so many different ones. I think from a business sense, one of the ones I feel most proud about was for a pharmaceutical company, and they were running a lot of their, I think something around 45% of their revenue came through sales reps managing and manipulating different spreadsheets. And it was a large pharmaceutical company, and when you manage all these spreadsheets, someone would have to get them together, correlate them, put them together, and then calculate things, and costs were lost. A lot of revenue was lost or miscalculated because they couldn't, it wasn't the same the way sales reps entered them in. And we created an Apex application in a very short period of time, probably 2 months. And this was a team we were based in Canada. There was another group in North Carolina, and then I think a business owner in England. And within 2 months, we were able to get a solution that really helped them reduce their overall cost quickly and efficiently. And it was just a fun project because you get to learn a lot about the pharmaceutical industry at that point too.
It's a great story. So thank you for sharing that. And just like there's probably like many apps you built, there's probably like many best practices. Is there maybe a one or two you could actually share with us, at least for the benefit of the folks actually out there?
Yeah, there's a lot on there, but it's more of, I think before you start doing anything, and especially Apex makes this very easy. You can go and create anything at any time, right? There's so many different features, bells and whistles, but take a step back and understand the problem you're trying to solve. I see this so often, especially people newer to Apex, they get overwhelmed with the possibilities out there that they forget what actually needs to be done to solve the problem. So once you truly understand that, then go and solve, look at all the features that are there, and that will determine whether you actually need to use something or not.
Okay. And just like there are behaviors or there's practices that we want to emulate, there's probably things we want to avoid. You got one of those?
Yeah, I've got a lot of those. How much time do we have? No, there's two I'll say. One is code repetition. A lot of times I see, and this happens with people with more experience as well, I'll see that they take a snippet of code and for whatever reason it needs to be repeated on multiple different pages or areas within the application. And it's really easy to copy and paste, right? They Control or Command C and Command V in a different page. And they do that once, and then 2 days later, they do it again. And the problem, they don't realize the problem until probably they're off the application and someone else comes, takes it over. When they find a bug with that code, and someone has to go and look across the entire application, and lo and behold, they find it's been copied and pasted 5 times. Now, this might be a small thing, and that's not too hard to find, but when it becomes over and over again, you induce a lot of risk and a lot of technical debt at the same time. So one of my suggestions of things to avoid is, as soon as you're copying and pasting something, stop and put it into a common area, which brings me into the second point of, in Apex, you can write a lot of code directly in the application, but that works great for, let's say, citizen developers, but main software developers should know and do know how to store that in either PL/SQL packages and procedures and functions, or for instance, larger queries, store them in views. So when you have that layers of complexity in your application, it becomes hard to maintain. So take that out and move it into PL/SQL packages and views. And by doing so, going back to the first point, you can avoid that copying and pasting of code over and over again because it's already in a singular place.
Okay. Well, Martin, that is great advice. As you mentioned, I think we could go on and on with this conversation with any of these topics, but we'll leave that for your actual presentations. I think of this more as a trailer for the kind of presentations you give. But thank you so much for coming and for sharing.
No problem. Thanks for having me on.
Thank you.